the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood.
A major change in heart for Ruby Franke, from her jailhouse phone calls to her sentencing last month.
It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices.
But did we see the same thing from Jody Hildebrandt?
I know this sounds crazy, and I still can't put my finger on why it feels this way, but it feels like I was being set up to end up here. I know that sounds bizarro. I mean, I shouldn't be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
By now you know that both women were sentenced last month on 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. And the story that leads up to those sentences is almost unbelievable.
Has been amazingly well behaved for being in town for like...
But you yelled at me.
Shh. The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know. That never happens. In my house, I never yell.
So everything starts with Ruby Franke and the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. It's now defunct, but at one point, Ruby shot and edited videos to post to the channel that had more than 2 million subscribers. The videos followed Ruby's life, featuring her husband Kevin and their 6 children, and she definitely got some pushback for some questionable parenting tactics.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
But for those of us that didn't watch 8 Passengers, the name Ruby Franke really came into the spotlight last August.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station.
This now famous Ring camera video was preceded by a chilling 911 call that was released.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
That boy is Ruby Franke's youngest son. He was being held at Jody Hildebrandt's Ivins, Utah home and broke free from duct tape shackles to run for help. Neighbors nearby called 911 and sat with the boy as they waited for emergency responders to arrive.
But he has duct tape around his
injuries, there's sores around him.
Yeah, there's sores around him. I think there's a good chance he's been...
He also has
and he has around his ankle.
as well.
I mean, his wrist as well. Okay, this boy has been...
Needs immediate attention.
Oh, he was such a good kid.
This kid is obviously been... I think he should have been...
When first responders arrived, they realized the severity of what they were dealing with. The boy had open wounds around his wrists and ankles from being tied up. He was emaciated and in need of medical care, and so was his younger sister.
I'm just gonna sit down. It's okay if I just sit here with you. We don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Okay? I'll just sit here with you.
Ruby and Jody were both arrested that day and charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. The number of charges was only dropped to 4 when they pleaded guilty in December of last year.
No, I'm not going to step out of
Step out of the house. Step out of the house.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
We're just gonna sit in the house. Is there anybody else home?
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
Perfect.
When they arrived at the police station, the women were separated and each questioned. Ruby remained defiant and hardly spoke.
I can wait all day, so it's up to you if you want to talk to us about what's going on. Would you feel more comfortable talking to one of us?
Or do you want me to I can step out if you want?
Or if you feel more comfortable talking to him, I can step out.
I'll wait till I have a lawyer.
It's your chance to tell us. We're just trying to get your side of the story. So it's your chance to do that. But it's up to you. We're just here to talk. And I mean, I'm not asking any criminal questions. If you don't want to talk to us, just let us know and we'll be done.
I've already told you.
That you want a lawyer? Okay.
Jody, however, was more forthcoming, saying the entire incident was a big misunderstanding.
I'm a little nervous.
You know, to be honest with you, if I was sitting over there, I'd be a little nervous too. So don't worry about it. We're just here to talk, to get your side. And right now we're just asking you just typical questions, like how long you lived here, that kind of thing.
We just want to get to know you a little, so if you just kind of want to share a little about yourself and what brought you down here. And
So I trust my attorney. He said, don't say anything. And I said, I have nothing to hide. And he's like, I know that, but just let me be there with you when you talk. So you guys seem nice people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to be difficult. This is really, if you knew all the pieces, I think you'd have a lot of empathy for what's going on.
Both women were booked into the Purgatory Correctional Facility, where in the months leading up to their sentencing, their jailhouse phone calls were recorded.
But it was like everything got taken out of the house and it's in a storage unit so that I could come to jail. It sounds crazy, but it really feels that way. And I don't know if I'm going to be like some kind of example, but when I get out of here, I have a story to tell, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to protect the children, because that's what's happening, is that kids are being just horribly abused. And instead of the kids, anyways, it's a story, but when you come, I'll tell you about it.
That's a recording of Jody more than a month after her arrest. She doesn't appear to show much remorse in that recording, or in another one where she says kids need to be held accountable.
Nightmare here, Dennis. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth. Nobody wants the truth, because these kids, you know, I told Doug, I woke up, the Spirit told me, it's all the devil. I mean, you've seen him. I mean, I've known you, for 5 years? You've watched him come at me, come at me, come at me, come at me. And you're exactly right, because he knows I know what he's doing. And he uses these kids. And he uses all of us as the adults, the parents, that don't hold the kids accountable. So now it's abusive to make a kid sleep on the floor. It's abusive. Or it's abusive to, you know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You can't even raise your kids anymore.
At one point, Jody even seems happy she's headed to prison.
Then he says, and ye shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's going on. And some of you shall be caused to be put to death, and you shall be hated by all men for my name's sake. And then he goes on to say, you know, and I never read that before, but like I've never been in prison, but I just read that and I just wept. I mean, the Spirit was like, he just said, this is you. So then I read in Mark. So that was in Luke, and I read in Mark the same kind of thing, you know, because the Gospels they wrote similarly. So he said, now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, like the father will betray the son. And the children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. That statement right there is what's going on with me. The children shall rise up and put their parents to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. I probably cried for an hour straight. Just everything clicked. And I said, I'm happy to go to prison. Because if you continue to read the rest of the chapter, he's like, be grateful. If you're in this situation, be grateful, because you're one of them, and you know, you will be saved. And this is yeah. Well, I have just been begging him, like, you've got to explain this to me. Like, I cannot logically figure out what's going on here. And that's it. that's what's going on. And the spirit, I mean, when I feel the spirit, I have two physiological reactions. I get really like shaky, like I'm shivering, like I'm cold, or I feel heat, like I have a fever run through me. And I was like burning up. It felt like I was burning up, and I was just shaking with gratitude. Like, here's your answer. Here's what this is.
But that's not entirely her sentiment at sentencing.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution.
Jody's attorney even had to step in and say she accepts responsibility for her actions.
I knew that whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Does Ms. Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Ms. Franke, that she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
But the judge doesn't entirely buy it.
Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making. By any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic. It's what happened to these children, and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence.
While she receives a similar sentence, Ruby's trajectory to sentencing is a bit different.
I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things. I'm a really good girl.
In her early jailhouse calls, Ruby denies any wrongdoing.
But the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling. Like my own family misunderstands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jody, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous. It's horrendous.
Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it. You've seen what it takes to fight evil. It's not the person you're fighting. And it can look like something it's not. And you've been there, you know that. And so I don't know any adults who are going to see the truth. So I'm calm about this, and I just pray that you'll hang in there.
But after some time, Ruby seems to make a major change.
I can't say everything that I want to say, but I really did feel like the arrest was like a rescue. Like I just felt so many angels around, and it was like a relief. It was just really kind of surreal, kind of strange. But I just keep thinking about, President Nelson's talk, think celestial, and I know he's said in the past about myopic thinking, and And he's given a lot of context to, you know, how small this life really is, and I'm just so grateful. How many people, you know, will go to the grave not having woken up. And I want to use this time, and I am using this time to change, to repent, and to do what I can to let the Lord know I love him and my family, and I've had many experiences here to kind of guide my thinking.
And by sentencing, she makes an emotional statement.
I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability.
Ruby even thanks prosecutors and first responders before apologizing to her kids.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were a part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently watering you to safety. I can see now, over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I never led you to darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and light was wrong.
The sentence will be that Ms. Franke serve 4 counts, 4 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that that consecutive sentences are appropriate.
Eric Clark was the prosecuting attorney in both Jody and Ruby's cases. He spoke at sentencing, saying the crimes were horrible acts of child abuse. He tells us he was shocked by Ruby's statement at sentencing, but not as much for Jody's.
Ruby's surprised me, and I didn't expect that because we've been hearing her jailhouse calls, right? So the things that she said, I believe that to a significant degree that was all heartfelt, right? Like I think that she really does feel awful and realize that what she was doing was horrific. We've never had a sentencing like that where someone's gone through and thanked all of the different government actors. And so I was just in there feeling surprised, right? I was like, oh, this is different, you know, and we're all trying to have poker faces because it's a big media story. And we expected Ruby to be very remorseful, and I think that what we got was more than what we expected, and probably longer than what we expected. With Jody, we could have had an office pool as to how many words we thought she was going to say, you know, because she still wasn't admitting she'd done anything wrong, and we didn't think that she would. Like I don't know that she ever will. And so what do you say in sentencing if you're not willing to really admit to stuff? So we were curious what Jody was going to say. And then I think everybody, like we felt the same emotions everybody else felt. When you don't admit guilt and you say you love the kids and wish them the best, like it just kind of makes you want to vomit in your mouth.
Both women were sentenced to up to 15 years on each count of aggravated child abuse. But because of Utah state statute, the max either one will spend behind bars is 30 years. It will be up to the Utah Board of Parole and Probation to determine how long they'll serve for. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Gillespie.